Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and I'm in studio with Ali Fazal from Victoria Abdul.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. I hear that you just flew in.
I just flew in. Yeah, it's 22 hours of straight flying.
It's a miracle that you're standing straight right now.
I'm good. This is helping.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So this movie is incredible. It's already getting awards season buzz. Tell me how you became involved, because I know that they were looking for somebody who was from India to play the role of Abdul.
Yeah. I was surprised because it was a huge step for Universal to come down to India and cast this part. Because there's always an easy route, easy way
There's
out.
many British-born Indians.
Yeah. But this time they came down, and I was sitting with a business associate, and I just I got the tip off, and she said. She told me the auditions were over like the week before, but I should why don't you check it out? Maybe you never know. So I called the casting, and we recorded 2 scenes on my phone. I said might as well just record on my phone and send it, no harm. And I got a call back about 25 days later that Stephen Frears and Biban Kidron, they were coming down to India, to meet more actors, and they wanted to meet you, and so that's when it began. It sort of. I met Stephen, and we started reading scenes, and it went on for almost another month. And I remember flying down to London to the studios one time, which is my first time in London on this film. And it was just really long. It was like, I think I've said this before, it was like a video game. I mean, it's just crossing levels, just to get to the end of it. And but I think that's what Stephen does, because he sort of builds this trust with you. And then boom, the day I got the part, that's it. He said, just come on set, do your job. Like, there were no rehearsals.
Yes, I've heard he does not let anyone do rehearsal.
Yeah, there was nothing. I just had to meet Judi then.
Yes, okay, and tell me about meeting Dame Judi Dench for the first time.
But that was a setup. That was like, I just remember this restaurant, a very cool place in London, somewhere in the outskirts. And it was like an Indian marriage. It's just like an arranged marriage.
It was arranged, yes.
It was all arranged, and she's there. And we've both landed up before time, so I don't think the others were in yet. And I just walked in, and she gave me the warmest hug.
Aww.
And that's it. Like, I think we just started talking. And she has a great sense of humor. I think that's where we sort of got along pretty well. And yeah. And then we would just be like, looking for time and space wherever we could, rehearse lines, do our lines and rehearse and, spend time together.
And now for people who haven't seen the movie, tell me a little bit about what the movie is about.
Well, it is set in the last chapters of Queen Victoria's life. This is the last 15 years of her life.
Right, when she's in her 80s.
She was in her, 70s.
70s,
She
okay.
died at 81.
Oh, okay.
So, 67, 68. And this guy comes in, so he just came in to deliver her, an Indian coin. And they used to have a lot of Indian servants before. They were ruling India. I mean, they were pretty much ruling India for 200 years. And this man just struck a very interesting relationship, a friendship with Queen Victoria. I mean, she was this lonely, bored woman in her, last stage. And she was eating herself away to death almost. And then suddenly this man comes in and he teaches her about love, about life, it becomes it was a weird relationship. It was a very spiritual relationship.
Right.
Because, like, I remember seeing the letters and, sometimes she would sign off as, your loving mother to a son. Or the Queen misses her munshi, come back, my friend. And another one would say, the Queen misses you, come back, hold me tight. And those are really intimate words for a monarch to use for anybody.
Right.
And that's why the relationship was so confusing. But he essentially started teaching her Urdu. And, he sort of became this teacher. And they started sharing stories and ideas. And just that the visual didn't fit for the time. Because they were from totally opposite ends of the spectrum. And these two people who just don't, belong to that particular time or frame together.
Right.
saw each other as humans, just humans. It's past
Yeah.
all the royalties and all the clothes and the castes and the religion.
Yeah, this is a time at the height of colonialism.
Yeah.
It's a very racist time, a very classist time, and then two people who are completely different social stratospheres, ethnicities, religions,
Yeah.
and ages, and a male and a woman could come together and have a like kind of a scandalous relationship. So scandalous that they actually burned all of their letters
they
after
burned all of it.
the Queen passed away.
Yeah, they burned all the English letters, and that's the funny part, because when Shabani Basu, the writer of the book, she was doing a research on curries, on Indian curries in the royal family, and she came across this man whose photograph was plastered everywhere, like even in her bedroom. And that's when she started researching about Abdul Karim. And she found out, there was a journal, there was an Urdu journal in Windsor Castle. So she asked them that, could I have a look at the journal? And they literally brought in 13 volumes on a trolley.
Oh wow!
Because apparently they thought Urdu was gibberish back then. So they burnt the English letters.
They burned the English letters. They saved all the Urdu
Yeah,
letters.
so she translated all that. That's
Amazing.
where she, the whole story came out.
Wow.
So it was, yeah.
Can you tell me what it was like to film at the Osborne house? You filmed at the Queen's actual summer house?
Yeah, it was weird because we were, I think, the first ones to ever really step in and shoot something. So it was weird because it's like 50 odd years after her death, in that very room, in that study, we are the first ones to step in and shoot something. Or do anything, apart from the people who really maintain that place. So, I don't know who to thank. I guess Judi and Stephen and, with all their, work credit, they got an in, and we shot there. We were there for about 3 weeks. It was pretty cool.
Was it, did you kind of get a sense of that these people were actually there? Did you get a feeling? Was there any kind of ghostly
Haunting.
feeling?
No, it was weird. Yeah, it was sometimes, especially the corridors we would be walking in, and all these photographs are there, and it happened, and you can see it. You can see it in the architecture. You can see the Darbar room, which was built and Abdul was the reason why it got built. It is an entire wing in the Osborne house that was just built because this guy said you should have the peacock throne here if you can't be there. And so she did it. But it was, I don't know what it was. It was, I think by the end of the shoot, it used to, because we were so into it that, I don't know. I would be having conversations with Abdul Karim at some point. But it wasn't ghostly or anything. I think it was just...
It was almost like you were just kind of inhabiting his space and
Yeah,
being able to
because
connect
it's a
with
lot
him.
of responsibility. This guy, there are no videos, there are very few photographs, and we had to literally mathematically pinpoint where and in history this happened, and what he might be at this point in time, and how he grew over the years. He got medals. He had his own staff by the end of it, and the clothes would speak a lot. So we were almost deciphering everything step by step, using costumes.
Yeah, I heard that the costumes are now part of the permanent exhibit at the Osborne
Yeah, they're
House.
there. Yeah,
That's
bunch
so
of
cool.
mannequins. Yeah, wearing us. Yeah. Yeah.
There was I read an interview with Judi Dench that said that her and Eddie Izzard stole away to go to one of the rooms and ended up surprising a group of tourists. Were you there that day?
I was right there. I was
Yeah.
there. He took us in, and because it's become a heritage site. Like I think 5 years ago, they sort of let the public in, and so they're there, and we're all in costumes. And he's just said, "No, Judy, just come in. Let's walk in." And she's walked in, and they think we're I don't know, we're like part of the exhibit or something. It was funny because they were about to take photographs, and Eddie was like, "No, get out."
We will get in trouble. You had a few very emotional scenes in this movie. One of the ones that really stuck out to me was when you were reciting Rumi to the Queen.
Yeah.
What was that day like filming that?
Can I be honest? It was really funny. Because It was my birthday that day.
Oh,
and,
really?
And so just before that scene is about to begin, there's this huge cake that comes in. And Judy's lying down, right, on the deathbed.
This is her death scene.
This is her death scene. She literally springs up going, "Wee! Happy birthday!" It was hilarious. It was like, thanks, Judy. I've been prepping for this the whole day. And so that was that. Of course, there was the people from Osborne House sort of running about because you can't eat inside. You can't have any food.
Of course.
It's okay, you can look at it, but you go out and cut it. So we said, okay, we'll finish the scene and do it. But it was an emotional scene. It was. I don't think I was. That scene was supposed to be another lesson. It's just another lesson, because the relationship was so spiritual that death was just, it was part of it. So it was like a nice send off. Yeah.
Well, it was lovely. What was the most difficult thing about portraying Abdul?
Well, the fact that this guy was a very complex man. At a very young age, he was a very learned man. It was the education that he had. He'd studied in a madrasa, which is like sort of kind of homeschooling. But he knew the Quran by heart, the holy book, at that age. And then he traveled a lot. He kept a ledger for prisoners in the Agra jail, which was something very profound. And yet he was an opportunist. He was ambitious. He was young. He was like an immigrant today, who's out there, who's looking at opportunity in the face of it and saying, why not? I want to make the best of it. And he befriends the most powerful woman on planet. So I don't know, what do you do with it, And I think, which is why like one of my toughest scenes to shoot was the first scene where he meets her in the study, because there's fear, there's anxiety, there's, you got to impress her, you got to also tell her about yourself, and it's really stupid. Like, because he starts talking about, he choosing the carpets for her. I mean, she wouldn't even know what who chooses the carpets for the Golden Jubilee. But so it's that naivety and that innocence. I thought there was just a lot of layers, because there was a lot of listening on his part. He was a listener, and that's what she liked. For once that somebody would listen to her and not agree. Everybody used to just agree around her.
Right.
And he would call it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting lesson in that, at the beginning when they're saying, whatever you do, don't make eye contact with the Queen.
Yeah.
And the first thing he does is make eye contact with the Queen, and he's establishing this awkward, vulnerable, boundary crossing sort of relationship that it's something that she actually appreciated.
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea was to get past, for her, love was male, female, they get together, make love, and that's love. Husband, wife. And then he introduced this concept of love that is far above the physical. And that's why there's a scene where he tells her that he has a wife, and she sort of is a little shocked. But for him, it comes out very naturally, because for him, this is far bigger than, a union of sorts, or it's far greater than. I mean, it's Rumi, it's Shams, it's so many other things. And, yeah.
Sounds like you've been inhabiting this person for a while now.
No, it's just hard, because you can spend your entire lifetime like trying to figure it out, but we're still figuring out.
Yeah. Well, why is this an important story to tell now? I mean, this is a difficult time when people are looking back at history and seeing the lessons about history, and this is basically a new historical story that just was discovered in the past few years. So why is it important to tell this story?
I think it's very important. I think it's needed. I think it resonates with what's happening today in so many ways. I mean, these are the most abused words these days. Love and hope, and that's essentially what this movie talks about. No matter your religion, your caste, your creed, your color, they saw each other for who they were. And I mean, there's just a lot of hate these days. It's
Yeah.
so hard to define what love is, and that's why I found it hard to play this man, because it was such a complex thing, and yet it was very simple. Essentially, what we arrived at after all that study and that research was something really simple. Just innocence, just you know, accepting it, accepting people for who they are, and we're missing it. I mean, my country, here, everywhere in the world, it's happening.
Yeah.
And we're facing it. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like some hard message that I mean,
Yeah.
that you have Western Union for that, but I don't know. But it's just for people to think. That's it. It could be anywhere.
Nice.
Could have been said here today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So here's 4 questions before I let you go.
Okay.
It's called First, Best, Last, Worst.
First, best, last, worst.
Yes.
Okay.
First job that made you think, I've made it.
Oh, my first gig in a film.
Yeah?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Which was?
It was called Three Idiots. I I did a cameo, and that movie became one of the biggest sort of record breakers of India, in India and across the globe. And the part I played was it made an impact. I think I never saw the film, but yeah, it did. I thought, wow, yeah, not bad. I've done something. Yeah, it was really. The effects were not very good because the guy commits. He kills himself in the thing, and a lot of young students in India back then got so affected by that part that there were, cases later. But which, I mean, I felt really bad about those. But yeah, it was something very impactful.
Yeah.
It worked.
What made you want to be an actor?
I broke my arm.
Sure.
I was a bit of a geek back in school. I had sciences. And I used to play a lot of sports. And I was a boarding school, so I broke my arm this one day in a basketball match. I was a ball player, and that's it. Life was done as I knew it. And that's when my friend came. He said, "You know what? Your English isn't bad. Why don't you go try for the Shakespeare? This play is happening." And it was The Tempest, and I got the part. I played Trinculo, and suddenly I started, sort of winning awards and stuff. And I say, wow. I think every actor goes through that, right? Like, you stand in front of an audience for the first time, and you feel like you're in control. You have. See, again, it's a power trip. We're stuck with this power thing. We're all selfish pricks.
It's the lifelong struggle.
Yeah.
Best costume you've had to wear for a job?
Oh, Abdul Kareem.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Consolata Boyle. I mean, it couldn't have gotten better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just exotic. I mean, we had endless costumes, hours and hours of just. Also, the process that went into it, because we were telling a time with every costume. So there's no timeline in the film, if you see. So it's the costumes that really take you through the 13, 15 odd years. Yeah.
Yes, and the hairstyles, I noticed.
And the hairstyles.
They changed.
Yeah.
Last time you made a mistake, and how did you fix it?
Ooh. The last time I made a mistake. You mean the last?
Right. Or the last time you
Well,
can
just-
recall.
Okay,
The
well,
last story
all right.
you want to tell.
All right.
Doesn't have to be
I remember
like
this was
taking
on
a wrong turn in the hallway.
No, this was on stage. I remember this was a very, very big. It was a premiere show, first show of my play, and my mustache comes off. And it's classic, And I'm behind this desk, so my guy, the other actor, it's just two man play, and the other actor he doesn't see me, he can't see me, so my mustache is halfway out. I'm like, screw it. I take it off and I throw it. Now that mustache goes sliding under the table on the other side. Now my friend Neil, he's on the other side, and he ignore it, right? Like you let it go. He picks it up, and he comes on top, and I'm like this, under the thing, and he's like, "What is this?" And I just look at him, and I said, "Well, I don't have facial hair, so I do these things so people take me seriously." And we got a great laugh. But I forgot the next 2 pages.
No.
So somehow we made it, but I just remember that was, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Worst audition experience?
Oh, Victoria Abdul.
Oh, really?
Just
the process of...
No, just that first meeting with Stephen Frears.
Really?
Oh my God, because he was down in India. He sprawled across the couch. A poor guy. He had a Delhi belly.
Oh,
So he was.
wasn't
I
feeling
thought
good.
I'd blown it because I'm reading and he's just not
He's just
listening.
like, oh.
He's yeah, and he's this grumpy man, right? Like he's sort of this wacky genius, So I didn't know him at the time, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I've blown it. This is done. Let's just read, okay, and I'll go. Then I got a call back, so I said, okay, I must have done something.
Oh, well, good for him for being able to power through and recognize talent when he saw it.
Oh, I'm glad something worked. I don't know what.
Oh, Ali Fazal, it was really nice getting to know you, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having
All
me.
right, Victoria Abdul is in theaters now. Bye.
Bye.